I'm a nurse. I've never let my hands shake. Not once, not even at 3 a.m. with a stranger bleeding out in front of me. Monitors screaming, the attending 3 minutes out and every decision sitting entirely on me. My hands don't shake. That's not pride talking. That's 12 years of learning how to stay still when everything around you is falling apart. But when Diane Hargrove smiled at me, the way a door smiles right before it closes on your fingers, and said that leaving me was the best decision her son ever made, something colder than anger moved through me. I didn't flinch. I just asked her one question. 5 minutes later, a man walked through that door. A man neither Diane nor my best friend Rachel ever expected to see. And what happened next? Nobody saw it coming. Not even Diane knew that I had seen all of it coming. For 14 months. Let me back up. It was a Saturday in late October, Portland, Oregon. The kind of morning where the sky hasn't decided yet. Low clouds sitting right on top of the West Hills. Rain coming in sideways off the coast. I was on my second cup of coffee at my kitchen table on NE Fremont Street, still in scrubs from a double shift at OHSU Medical Center. 12 hours on the cardiac floor. I hadn't even taken my badge off. My phone buzzed. Rachel Chen, my best friend of 9 years, the woman who held my hand in the parking lot of Multnomah County Courthouse when my divorce from Connor Hargrove was finalized 14 months ago, texted me 3 words. Can we talk? What Rachel said next. What she told me on that call, voice dropping like she was confessing something in a church. I didn't understand at first. Then I did. Rachel and Connor had been seeing each other for 6 weeks. She wanted me to hear it from her. She said she was sorry. She said it just happened. She said a lot of things that people say when they've already decided something and want the other person to make it easier for them. I listened to the whole thing. I didn't interrupt once. Then I said, "Okay, Rachel, I hope you two are happy." I hung up. Sat there for a long moment, rain hitting the window, coffee going cold, and I thought, right on schedule, because here's the part I never told anyone. I had known about Rachel and Connor for 5 weeks before she called me. Not suspected. Known. It was a Thursday evening in mid-September. I was coming off a 9-hour shift, stopping at the New Seasons Market on NE 33rd Avenue, picking up soup, nothing. A forgettable errand. I turned into the wine aisle and there they were. Connor and Rachel standing close in the way that people stand when they've forgotten the rest of the world exists, his hand on the small of her back, her laughing at something he said with a particular softness she had never once used when talking about him to me. They didn't see me. I put the soup back. I walked to my car. I sat in the parking lot for 11 minutes, and then, because I am a nurse, because my hands do not shake, because I had learned a long time ago that the most dangerous thing you can do in a crisis is react, I made a decision. I was going to wait. I was going to watch. And I was going to finish what I had already started. Here's what nobody knew about what I had already started. 14 months earlier, the same week the divorce was finalized, I had come into possession of something I hadn't gone looking for. It was information. The kind that comes to nurses the way weather comes to a city, quietly from every direction at once, until suddenly you're standing in the middle of it. Connor Hargrove had left his marketing job 8 months prior and taken a communications director position at OSU, the same hospital system where I worked. He earned $140,000 a year. He sat in a glass-walled office on the 7th floor of the Collaborative Life Sciences building on SW Campus Drive. Diane had announced this achievement at every family adjacent gathering since, with the precision of a woman reading from a prepared statement. What Diane did not know was what I had seen in the margins of that story. Over 14 months, working the cardiac floor, moving through corridors and supply rooms and break rooms, where people talk freely because nurses are furniture to them. I had been quietly, carefully, documenting a pattern of billing irregularities in Connor's department. Small redirections, consistent ones. 14 months of misdirected reimbursements totaling, by my count, $217,000. I had brought none of it to anyone. I sat on it. I sat on it the way you sit on a card in a long game, Not because you're afraid to play it, but because you're waiting for exactly the right moment. Rachel's call didn't change my plan. It just told me the moment was closer than I thought. I reached out to Dr. James Okafor on November 11th. James was an interventional cardiologist, one of the best on the West Coast, running his practice out of the 9th floor of the OSU Center for Health and Healing on SW Campus Drive. I had worked alongside him for 4 years. He trusted my clinical judgment without hesitation. He had also, I knew, been quietly uneasy about certain numbers in his department for several months. He just hadn't yet found the thread that would unravel it. On a Wednesday, with a cold front pushing temperatures down to 38 degrees, and frost forming on the windows of the parking structure by 7 a.m., I sent him one email, 12 sentences, 3 attached documents, 14 months of careful, quiet, invisible work compressed into something clean and irrefutable. I told him I thought he should know. Then I went to Thanksgiving dinner. If this story is landing, share it right now. Someone in your life needs to hear that patience isn't weakness. It's the longest kind of power. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it. New story every week, real ones. Thanksgiving was at Diane's house on Lakeview Boulevard in Lake Oswego. I was there because Connor's Aunt Patricia, who liked me genuinely stubbornly, without a single apology, had insisted. Diane had agreed the way people agree to things they intend to make uncomfortable. Rachel sat across from me, made eye contact once, then discovered something deeply interesting on her dinner plate and stayed there. Connor looked tired. The specific tired of a man who has made a choice he can't return, and is only beginning to understand the weight of it. After dinner, while the others moved into the living room, Diane found me alone in the kitchen. Glass of Riesling, the particular ease of a woman standing on her own ground. She looked at me. The way you look at something you've already filed away, already finished with, and she said it. I want you to know, Lily, whatever you thought this family was going to be for you, Connor leaving you was the best decision he ever made, and I think deep down, you know that too. She smiled. Warm closed, like a door you will not be opening again. My hands did not shake. I looked at her for a long moment, long enough that the smile flickered, just slightly, at the edges. Then I asked her one question. Diane, has Connor mentioned anything about work this week? She blinked. What do you mean? I said. Just ask him. When you get a chance. Then I went back to the living room and ate a piece of Patricia's pecan pie. It was very good. I had seconds. 14 minutes later, Connor's phone rang. He stepped into the hallway. I watched through the doorway, watched his posture change the way a building changes in the first seconds of a structural failure. Connor Hargrove was placed on administrative leave on November 27th, pending a full compliance review of departmental billing records. The review identified $217,000 in misdirected reimbursements across 14 months. His name appeared on enough of the relevant documentation that the distinction between knowledge and participation became, legally, very thin. He resigned on December 3rd. Rachel moved out of his apartment 12 days later. Apparently a man navigating a compliance investigation and the quiet collapse of a $140,000 a year career is a different proposition than the one she thought she had chosen. I heard through Aunt Patricia that Diane had a difficult winter, that the Lakeview Boulevard house felt quieter than usual, that she had stopped mentioning Connor's job at gatherings. I hope she rested. I hope the Riesling was good. I hope, on the quiet evenings, she thought about that smile she gave me in her kitchen, the door, closing one, and understood, finally, that she had aimed it at the wrong person. Subscribe. Right now, because next week's story is worse, and the ending is even better. Here is what I want you to understand about that night. I didn't walk into Diane Hargrove's kitchen with anger. I walked in with 14 months of patience, 12 years of keeping steady hands, and one very simple question prepared in advance. I never raised my voice. I never made a scene. I never said a single unkind word to a single person in that house. I just asked her if Connor had mentioned anything about work. The rest, all of it had been set in motion long before she ever opened her mouth. My name is Lily. I'm a nurse. And the most important thing they teach you in this profession is this: you don't treat the symptom. You find the source, and then, quietly, precisely, without drama, you fix it. She thought she was closing a door. She didn't know I had already locked the one behind her.